We are looking at all the vegetation around the power lines, and we're making the lines safe for the community.
Keeping the trees and vines and any plant life that might encroach upon the power lines or poles clear.
We maintain them over the years to make sure they don't come in contact with power lines.
Patrolling VMAs, vegetation management areas, is walking every inch of power line in the county, doing a base to canopy assessment, and then getting down and dirty at the base of the tree looking for cavities, fungus, decay, splits, cracks, weak attachments, anything that might bring the tree down.
So we have high fire threat district areas, and those are areas primarily in the eastern part of our territory, the backcountry areas that have a higher risk involved with them because they have greater fuel loads, there's fewer people.
Within our high fire threat district, SDG&E actually performs 2 inspection cycles each year to ensure that we are mitigating or lessening the risk of ignition and fire propagation.
So there's a bird breeding season that happens from February through September every year, and we can't impact that. We're very sensitive about that. So we perform our primary inspections and our tree trim operations outside of that window for the benefit of the nesting birds.
We have the county broken up into 133 different sections. In any given month, we're patrolling anywhere from 10 to 12 of those.
Making sure that any tree that requires pruning is identified and subsequently pruned to ensure safety, compliance, and reliability.
PreInspection is the operation that basically leads the charge. They go in first. They identify trees that are not going to hold cycle, and that means that we have to look at the tree and we have to evaluate with its growth rate, will that tree last for 1 year and stay outside of the minimum compliance range on any particular power line.
With a pre-inspection, you're checking every tree, every line. If a tree can grow within 3 years, we're going to add that to an inventory. And we have an inventory of over 500,000 trees. So not every tree is going to get trimmed, but at least they're monitoring the trees that do require trim.
So some are listed clear, some are listed for prune. They might pick up some removals along the way, or GR prunes, which are heavy prunes. It's not like a snip, it's serious tree work.
And a big part of pre-inspection is not just the evaluation of trees, it's the interaction with customers. We need to communicate well to customers. We have to explain what it is that we're doing and why we're there. When they have a tree that's being pruned and they have a tree that needs to get removed, it can be emotionally impactful to customers. And we have to be there, our pre-inspectors have to be there to listen, to understand. We know where they're coming from and we have to let them know that. So we're as much invested in connecting with customers and customer relations as we are with evaluating trees and addressing any concerns.
Tree trimming is simply the removal of limbs and branches away from overhead power lines, and there's many ways to do that. One of the ways that we really try to do is what's called directional pruning, and that gives us, instead of just taking it down like a haircut, what we do is we say, listen, the wires are here, we want to move it, try to move it and grow it away from the wires.
Our tree trimming operations are the most at-risk part of our operation. They deal with heavy machinery, they deal with chainsaws, they have to climb trees. It's very challenging. They are often there for hours at a time with machinery that's very loud, doing crucial work.
We prune nearly 200,000 trees every year for safety, compliance, and reliability. We hire professional tree pruning contractors to trim the tree, to maintain safe distances near our power lines, and to also promote the health of the trees.
Pole brushing is a maintenance of 35,000 poles.
Certain poles in our inventory have sparking equipment, fuses, switches, lightning arresters. In a wind event, they can spark.
There are certain poles that can spark and cause potential fire, so we're mandated to do a 10-foot radius around certain subject poles.
And you can't have any limbs encroaching the 10-foot radius or 8 feet up, and then dead limbs up to the cross arms.
If there's a potential of any spark from some of this equipment falls on the ground, we want to make sure that that area below it is clear.
And maintain that year-round.
Fuel modifications is an expansion on our pole brush program. Instead of just a 10-foot clearance, what we're doing is expanding it out to 50 feet. Knowing that a lot of times hardware on the pole doesn't always just fall within that cylinder of that 10-foot, has the ability to actually spark outside of that area.
We want to start with a safety tailgate. We want to talk about all the hazards that the job can have. And then what we would do is we assess the area. So then we have a biologist that goes out to identify the plants that we want to keep and also the plants that we need to remove. We delineate a 50-foot radius. Then the crews go out, they'll have their chainsaws. They're going to start cutting some of the larger limbs. We have some of the other crews that follow up by dragging that brush and bringing it to a pile and then start mulching all that debris.
Thinning the landscape of weeds and stuff that doesn't belong or is just too flammable, getting rid of some of that fuel is important to prevent wildfires.
Quality assurance is a critical part of our operation. It's a third-party audit, and they come in and they look at a sampling of the work that's performed, and they evaluate the calls that have been made or the work that has been performed.
Quality assurance is very important because we need to make sure that every one of our tasks is following through and doing the right thing out there. So basically we want to audit all of our activities to assure that every step along the way is being taken care of.
It exposes whether we're overlisting on pre-inspection or underlisting, where are we missing trees. And then it also gives us an opportunity to be able to see, are the trees holding compliance, and it gives us data so we know, are we really accomplishing the goals that we need to accomplish.
It's a crucial part of how our operation performs, is having a third-party independent look at the work that's done and ensuring it's up to the standards that we expect.
We're very proud to give back to the community with our tree planting efforts that are not only compatible to grow near the power lines, but to also promote sustainability, green energy, and a healthy environment.
Whenever we have trees that need to be removed, we offer replacement trees to our customers to put back into the community.
And so we developed a system whereby we were reaching out to customers, and those customers could be individual residents, or they could be the county or the city and or tribal partners. And then we began to engage them, and because we don't want to just plant trees, but we actually want to grow trees. And so we started educating them. This is the proper way to plant these trees, water the trees. These are the maintenance issues. Really, tree planting there's a lot of education and a lot of knowledge as it relates to appropriateness.
We always say right tree, right place. That means that we love trees, but we want them in the right place. And around power lines is not necessarily the right place for many trees.
SDG&E's focus for tree planting has been to get 10,000 trees in the ground. So we're giving out a lot of trees to the community and the county at large.
The wildfire safety fairs are a great way to reach out to the community to explain what we do and why we do it.
Bring in homeowners in a local area and educate them on what vegetation management does, what the fire department does. We have our local fire departments that are also part of that. We also discuss the types of hardware that's used, why vegetation management as a whole is there. This gives us a chance to work one-on-one and answer those questions sometimes that we don't even think about that we can utilize for other customers.
When we have wildfire safety fairs, it gives us an extra opportunity to engage with the customer and to explain why we do what we do, how we do what we do, and I love them. It's one of my favorite parts of the job is actually connecting with customers.
We generate tons of green waste material every year in association with our tree pruning operations. As part of our sustainability initiative, we turn that waste into recyclable material. So we're reducing the tonnage that goes to our landfills, we are reducing our carbon footprint, and we are encouraging a more sustainable environment.
And so at SDG&E, we have begun to work with our contractors about getting that green waste recycled and putting it in a place not in the landfill, but in areas where we can manage soils and we can let it compost.
So this is a way that we can increase our sustainability initiatives as a company, but also lower our carbon footprint and have a positive impact on the environment.
Vegetation management is
Protecting the public.
Making it safe for the public.
It drives everything we do.